Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. In today's video, we're going to be putting the Lego logging train from the Bricklink Designer program through its paces around the layout. Really awesome train. Enjoyed putting it together and looking forward to seeing how it performs around the layout here. I'm still waiting on a few motors to come in from Bricklink orders, so not motorized yet, but we'll be using the Maersk train or the Maersk locomotive to push it around the layout. Just want to get a feel for how it performs in general, how it looks as it's moving around the layout, make sure it doesn't have any obvious issues with any of the crossovers or switches around the layout. So looking forward to seeing how it does. So let's get things going and get the train moving around the layout. Not moving super fast, but everything's working so far. Not too surprising with the Lego wheels on all of the train cars. I assume we're getting a lot of friction and resistance there in general. Yeah, and we've got, let's see if we can change that around. So I've moved the Maersk locomotive to the front of the train here. We'll see if that changes anything for how the train moves around the layout. And then assuming we get the same results, basically showing a lot of friction and, the train sort of hindering the Maersk locomotive's ability to move around. What we'll do is we'll try going down to a subset of cars, see if we can isolate if there's one car in particular that's causing the problem. We'll take that information and then talk about next steps. So let's fire this up and see how it starts to move with the locomotive in front. Okay, well that didn't really work at all. I'll show you guys what we've got going on here. If we start this up, you can see basically the Maersk is spinning its wheels, can't move the train. So obviously friction is is an enemy of our progress here. So let's try taking a few of the train cars out, see if we can isolate where the problem is and see if there's something we can do in the short term or if we need to do something more drastic to get this running. Okay, so first test, we just took the locomotive out of the sequence here, and we'll try firing up the Maersk again. That is a positive sign. That's kind of where I figured we were going to be heading. That likely we've got friction with all of those train cars. The Lego wheels aren't the best for moving around like this, but for such a small train, it should work fairly well, even with those wheels. But, we'll see what's going on with the locomotive here. It's got a few things happening with its wheels there and the different rods. So maybe something just a little too snug. But happy to see the rest of the train moving here. Really moving quite smoothly, which is I was a 50-50 toss-up. I could see there being issues potentially, but like I said, such a small train, shouldn't really be problems even with inefficient wheel design, and it's kind of playing out as I would expect here with the rest of the train load. Let's get you another angle there, and then we'll take a closer look at what's going on with the locomotive and what we might need to do there. Love that logging car and the caboose in particular. This continues to truck along. Really good to see. I'm glad it was that easy for that part of the train to function the way that we want it to. Let's see here. We'll get another view from this side of the track, and then we'll do a bit of a deeper dive on the locomotive. Coming around the corner there into the yard stretch. Yep, those train cars look really cool. Okay, so happy with how everything else is performing. Now let's take a look at the locomotive. So you can see here, I've moved the rest of the train cars off onto the interior main line, so they are out of the way. And then we've got the Maersk hooked up to the locomotive. In looking at the locomotive a bit, I think the problem area that we're having here is with the front set of wheels. The back set of wheels spins pretty freely. There's not really a lot of resistance on the axle spinning there, but there is a bit more on the front axle. So going to do a test run here, just see if it'll run with the, just with it and the Maersk locomotive. Can do another test after, I think, maybe fiddling with those front wheels a bit. I don't know if I can take them, I might be able to take at least one of them off completely, just to try to give the rest of the, basically just to give that front axle a bit more freedom to move, see if that works. And yeah, we'll kind of see what happens from there. But I think our problem definitely lies in this front set of wheels. Don't think we can take it off completely, because then the train won't have, maybe the magnet will hold it up. We'll see. We'll see where we need to go with this, but let's do this test first and see how it performs. Okay. So firing up the engine, the locomotive there, that's moving pretty good. It would be nice if everything was basically fixed with just some fiddling with those front wheels. All I did was try to give a little bit of extra wiggle room, just trying to make sure that axle was as free as possible to spin. The test will be to add those other 3 train cars back on and see if that case works well. But this is performing nicely. I like the rods moving there on the logging locomotive. That's moving pretty well. I still think we could make this perform better if we made some potential modifications to some of the wheels on the locomotive and those train cars, but don't need it to be amazing. This is always probably going to be a relatively small train when it's running around the layout. Yeah, you can see it's a little herky-jerky moving there. That rod is not moving super smoothly. See if I can get you guys a better angle of that as it comes around the corner here. Okay, I'm going to stop the train. I'm going to add the other 3 cars back on. I have a feeling that things won't work as well. I'm assuming that those cars are going to add enough resistance, and I'm already seeing as the Yeah, as we're making more laps around, even the back axle there is not moving super smoothly. It wasn't bad for those first couple of, for the first little bit there after my modifications and kind of fiddling with stuff, but I'm guessing that just the more it runs, the worse those axles get in terms of catching and kind of inhibiting the movement of the locomotive. So we've got the whole train reassembled. My guess is we're going to see the same issue as before, where we basically can't go anywhere, or if we do manage to kind of go forward a little bit, that it's going to be very painful and that it'll probably stop completely at some point shortly after it gets going. But let's confirm here by starting things up. Okay, we're not going to, I don't want to wreck the motor on the Maersk, but that definitely seems to be the case. So if we take this back, if we take this logging locomotive out again. Okay, so we've got the locomotive out. So if we turn the power functions on, I mean, it doesn't even takes hardly any speed, and the train is off without that locomotive. So that seems to be the sole issue, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's a great little locomotive. Definitely want to get this functioning, and we've got a few locomotives that kind of fall into this category. We've got one from HA Bricks that I'd like to get functioning and sort of tuned up, because we've had some issues with that one as well. This is, I think this is a solvable problem. We should be able to get something working for the locomotive, but in the meantime, it's at least nice to see that the rest of the train cars can be put to use and see action around the layout. If you guys have any thoughts on how we can go about fixing that locomotive and, getting it to be a smooth running piece of our collection, would love to hear it in the comments. I'll be looking around a bit. Like I said, there's a lot of these small locomotives around, and people run them seemingly without a lot of issues. So I think it should be a solvable problem. It's just one we're gonna have to look for, we're just gonna have to do some digging to see what the general solution is that people are working with, and starting to apply that, because, I definitely want to get some smaller locomotives running around the layout in addition to our bigger ones. And that logging locomotive looks awesome. I'm still really happy with the set as a whole from a train perspective. Still not a huge fan of the bridge, but we'll come to that in a future video. But for now, kind of a mixed bag test. I feared that this could be what would happen or what we would see, but nice to confirm it. And now we'll work towards solving the issue and getting this train motorized and working as best as we can. So, like I said, if you've got, feel free to add comments. Interested to hear if people have had success in making some alterations to the set to get it to perform the way it should. Also, just interested if people have got suggestions for small locomotives, small scale locomotives like that I can look at for some insight into potentially how to get it to perform the way I want. But definitely keep an eye out on the channel. We'll be revisiting this soon, because I'm going to do, like I said, some research. We're going to dig around and we will come up with a solution, hopefully in the near future, as I would like to get that full train running around the layout. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.